Hey everyone, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you. So, I have two 3070s. Normally there would be an Asus one here, but they only have one in the country for press. And I don't have it, sadly, and I haven't managed to be able to get it for long enough to be able to test it. I did try, but anyway, we have these two. But what's kind of good with these two is they do both come in at the same price, which was a bit surprising for me. They're both £539. Now, I did think that meant that the Gigabyte was a little bit more expensive, but their cheapest model is going to be £499. So it then makes me think that the MSI looks quite good value for money. But MSI do have a habit of having a low launch price and then the price creeping up over time rather than creeping down over time. So there's lots of kind of politics going on with this, and they're both kind of like at each other. But anyway, 539. Now I know straight away as well, a lot of you are going to have watched the AMD stream. I have just watched it. That lets you know when I'm filming this video. Now the numbers do look amazing, and it does sound like the 6800 is going to do quite well, although it is actually going to come in a little bit more expensive than these ones. But it sounded like it was going to be enough quicker than a 2080 Ti to make these a little bit scared, but for more money. And then the other thing to think about is, because it's going to be for more money, then the vendor cards are probably going to be that little bit more money still. But it's not about more money at the moment. My point is, at this present moment in time, where I haven't tested them, I don't particularly want to get overhyped or overexcited. But I do want to test them very, very much so that I can talk to you guys about it and see what happens with these. But for now, at least, we need to kind of get this out the way, because once we've got this out the way, then I can test the 6800s. And then when we do the 6800s, it might be time to start knocking green boxes down, but we will save it for then. So, firstly, the Gigabyte looks to be the cheaper of the two. The card itself is much smaller, and I can show you up here, I can show you B-roll with the two together. The Gigabyte is much thinner, narrower, it comes out of the PCI Express slot a lot less, and it's shorter in length as well. Does have a nice cutout on the back of the card. It's an 8-pin and a 6-pin power, and you do get that. Only the Gigabyte sign is RGB on the card. So this is going to fit in a lot more cases, going to have a lot less issues with it size-wise. So this one has its place still. The MSI, big, fat, Trio X, it's meant to be the kind of top of the end kind of one. It sticks out of the slot a lot further. It goes down the card or down your case a lot further. It's got two 8-pins for power, massive cooler on it, and then the MSI logo lights up in white, and then the little bar down the side is your RGB on it. It looks much chunkier. It does just look the more premium card. And to be fair, what I normally kind of start with is the power draw, because the MSI drawed more power. So this one was 431 watts. This one was just under 400 watts, but that was actually 30 watts up on the Founders Edition. So they're both drawing a fair bit more power. This one is like 60 odd watts more than Founders. This one is 30. So straight away, draws more power. Normally leads you to believe that it's going to start cranking out more FPS. And then when you move on to the clock speeds, now I do clock speeds a lot because clock speed is a really, really interesting graph. Peak, yeah, okay, you can watch peak, but it's the average that you need to keep your eye on. And there's a reason for that, because you can see at the bottom, the Founders Edition, you've got that there, 1927 average. Then, randomly, or surprisingly, the MSI comes in with its average as being 1989. So I was expecting that to be more, if I'm honest. And then the Gigabyte's quite up there, quite high, almost 2000 megahertz average with this card. So at this present moment in time, it is going to look like the Gigabyte is going to win out. And when we move on to some games testing, Gears 5. You can see here, MSI in the middle, the Founders Edition above, and then the Gigabyte a little bit below. Kind of surprising, especially with the other numbers. And then Horizon Zero Dawn, bear with me, because there is a point coming here. And one of the points is there are a lot more graphs on the OC 3D website. But Horizon Zero Dawn, MSI above, then Gigabyte, then NVIDIA. Now, that is the end of the time that the Gigabyte beats the MSI beats the Gigabyte. Every other graph, the MSI went behind the Gigabyte. So even though it drew more power, the clock speed side of it actually started to win out for the Gigabyte. So as the graphs are kind of scrolling, you can pick the numbers in there. I've obviously only tested 3 of these so far, Founders, Gigabyte, MSI. And if I'm completely honest, the difference between the cooling ability wasn't enough for all this extra girth either. I'm going to be completely honest in saying that the MSI, considering its extra size, definitely didn't perform as well as I was expecting, or, imperfectly honest, would have hoped. Now, when we come into a conclusion, and I seem to have done this video really quickly, but when we come into a conclusion, it's actually quite simple. The MSI looks better, doesn't perform better though. So it just looks the part, you know, it's got that more hench look in your rig. If you're not fussed about that, all you give a monkeys about is frames per second, then this one is the one to buy. I also have a gut feeling that the Gigabyte will stay cheaper over the course of time as well. I do believe that this one's price will go up. And that's because, if I'm perfectly honest, I'm actually a bit surprised that they were even the same price in the first place, and made some phone calls and all of that sort of thing. Now this could be good for people to jump on early because the price will go up later, but then you are buying a card that you're hoping is going to go up in price later, which actually performs not quite so well at the moment. So overall, if you can get past the aesthetics, the Gigabyte rather, is the one to get. And they have performed really well in the past, and I know they sell hand over fists as well. I've been lucky enough to test the 80 and the 90 version of this card, and they were all very strong. So there's some good hierarchy going on there. And if you also kind of think about it, this one had a less 2 pins on the power. There was loads of things to this that should have made it slower, and it didn't. So maybe MSI need to do some tweaking with BIOS and the like on this, because I think this has probably got more to get from it. I did have a little bit of a play with overclocking. Now, obviously the NVIDIAs, they do auto overclock themselves. Now, the Gigabyte, I could get a plus 50 on the boost, fine. The MSI, I did just about manage to get a plus 75, but they ended up averaging out in the scores because you can overclock them too far. So one of the things I would say is I'm still favouring this one, if I'm completely honest. The only reason why I would go this way would be slightly better aesthetics. It does look like it's a more expensive card than that one. And that's the only thing that really does let this one down, is it does look a little bit thinner, a little bit cheaper. But if it was me, in all honesty, this would be the one I'd probably end up buying and then painting and doing a mod project on the card itself just to make it look a little bit better. So that's it for you. Exciting times in the graphics card world. We will be talking a lot more about 6800 series as soon as we are allowed. We have got numbers, dates and things like that. But obviously, like, I've not even signed an NDA yet. But I don't know anything more than you guys. I watched the stream as well. But it does sound like things are about to get very competitive, and it does also sound like the green team are going to have to start scrambling, because it does sound like AMD are back with a vengeance. I could do a news post and we could have a proper chinwag about that, so maybe that's what we need to do. Subscriber video, GPU Wars. Maybe that's what we need to do. But for now, that's these. This would be the one I'd have. But if I had to look at it too much, or if I was going to go vertically mount, this would probably be the one that I'd end up buying and then trying to tune and overclock, and maybe see if there was ways I could extend power limits and stuff to try and eke more out of it. Could just be a bad bit of silicon lottery and all that sort of stuff. I know you guys think that we get given like specially cherry-picked samples, but I think this one's proven that doesn't happen. Right, that is it. This is the tiniest one with another video for you out. Ding! Love you, sis.